Alrighty, folks, we're 8-3 with a push in our last dozen college football tier membership plays on my premium page. The good news is I'll have 3 more college football tier membership plays going off here for week 2. Those plays are already posted and ready for access. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my college football free pick video here today for week 2. My name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on YouTube since 2016. And with that, folks, we're going to dive right into some free content. All right, moving on to some Saturday action. Baylor, SMU, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff on Saturday. SMU is -2.5. Total is 65. Of course, the Mustangs steamrolled Texas School of the Blind last week. Had 42 points in the opener. Kevin Jennings went 22 of 30 for 260 yards. And his favorite target was Romello Brinson, 7 grabs for 121 yards and a score. And they're going to face a Baylor defense who didn't put up much of a fight against Auburn in week 1. The Bears allowed 38 points and over 300 yards on the ground. It was a miserable performance defensively. And matter of fact, the Bears were actually allowing over 6 yards per play from scrimmage. And no real surprise, Baylor's opener flew way over the posted total. I like SMU -2.5 over 65. All right, Central Michigan taking on Pitt. That'll be a 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Let's see, Pitt is -21, total is 52. And of course, the Panthers steamrolled Duquesne in their opener. A little crosstown rival there. Well, not a rival, a crosstown school. They held them to just 37 yards rushing and 9 points. It was not a pleasant day for the Dukes. A lot of those players wish they were playing at Pitt, and they're just not good enough, or maybe they don't have the grades. But Kyle Lewis led the defense in tackles for the Panthers, had a pair of sacks as well. And they're going to square off against a Central Michigan program who actually struggled moving the football against San Jose State. It was an outright victory and cover, but the Chippewas had all kinds of problems throwing the football. CMU's quarterbacks completed just 8 throws for 115 yards, no touchdowns through the air, and no real surprise, the Chippewas did see their opener stay about 22 points below the posted total. I like Pitt -22, under 52. Florida International, Penn State, 12 o'clock East. Penn State's -42, total's 54.5. And the Nittany Lions did fail to cover in week 1. I'm sure there's several of you guys out there who are well aware of that. That was a brutal backdoor cover by Nevada. And bottom line is these numbers are just really huge. Penn State's got a great team, but there's no real reason to absolutely rout their opponents, at least not this year. They're obviously ranked number 2, and they don't need to blow out teams by 42 points. Typically, this time of the year, they're anywhere between, 8 and 15 as far as the rankings. So these tune-up games, they really need to just blast these opponents. Well, they don't have to do it this year. They're ranked number 2 early, so there's no need to blow out teams by over 42 points. And FIU on the other side, well, they definitely took care of business in their opener. They scored 42 points against Bethune-Cookman. Probably something that's supposed to happen. I mean, Bethune-Cookman, not an overly prolific football school, but listen, FIU took care of business, scored 42 points, did what they had to do. All 6 scores for the Panthers actually came on the ground. A pair of touchdowns for the quarterback, Keon Jenkins. Couple of touchdowns for running back, Kejon Owens as well. Once again, I think the factor is Penn State doesn't need to keep their starters in deep into the second half. No real reason to just blast this team by 60 points. So give me FIU +42 over 54.5. All right, next matchup, Illinois-Duke, 12 o'clock East. Illinois is -3, totals 51. Of course, both defenses performed well in week one against their cupcake opponents. Duke allowed just 17 points against Elon, actually held them to just 112 yards through the air. Jaden Francois with double-digit tackles. Freeman and Anthony, dozen tackles between the both of them. Meanwhile, Illinois on the other side, well, they nearly pitched a shutout in their opener. They gave up just 3 points in week one, held their opponents to just 29 yards rushing. Gabe Jacos, handful of tackles, couple of sacks. Gentle Hunt with a handful of tackles as well. He was not so gentle. I like the under 51. All right, got a hard-hitting matchup next. Iowa taking on Iowa State, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff. The Iowa State Cyclones are -3, totals 42, and the under cashed in 8 out of these last wow, so excited, can't talk. The under cashed in 8 out of these teams' last 10 head-to-head gatherings. Hard-hitting football, not a lot of scoring. If you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. And of course, both squads with some real good effort defensively last week. It was the Cyclones who are allowing just 96 yards a game on the ground this year. Marcus Neal with 13 tackles on the season. Jamison Patton has 13 tackles as well. Meanwhile, the Hawkeyes on the other side, well, they held Albany to just 7 points. That's exactly what they were supposed to do. Limited the Danes to just 134 yards passing. And like I said, if you like hard-hitting defense and not a lot of scoring, this game might just be for you. Give me the under 42. All right, next matchup, Kennesaw State taking on Indiana. That'll also be a 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Indiana's -36, totals 51. And listen, this is a lot of points for a Kennesaw State team who nearly upset Wake Forest last week. I mean, as far as the talent pool, this is a team who was overmatched on paper, or at least historically, but the Owls actually held the Deacs to just 10 points in that game. It was a loss, but they looked really good defensively. Baron Hobson had 11 tackles in the opener. Isaac Paul with 7 tackles as well. Meanwhile, Indy on the other side, well, they failed to cover the spread against Old Dominion last week. They were favored by 24, beat them by just 13. This is a lot of points for Indy to lay. They didn't blow out Old Dominion, who is kind of similar to Kennesaw State with regard to talent. And as a matter of fact, the Owls might be a little bit better. I like Kennesaw State +36, under 51. All right, Kent State Golden Flashes taking on Texas Tech, 12 o'clock East. Texas Tech is -48, totals 58 points. And listen, as bad as Kent State is, this is just a ridiculous amount of points to lay. Also, Kent State is actually coming off an inspired victory against Merrimack last week. It was their first win in a real long time. Cade Wolford with a pair of touchdown receptions. Actually had 2 grabs for 109 scores. 2 grabs for 109 yards. Both of those grabs were touchdowns. Heavy hitters there. And once again, there's nothing bad I could say about Texas Tech. They destroyed Arkansas Pine Bluff last week, but man, this is an awful lot of points. The Red Raiders could end up beating these guys by 6 touchdowns and still not cover this massive point spread. I don't like it. Way too many points. Give me Kent State +48, over 58. All right, Liberty taking on Jacksonville State. That'll be a 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff. And listen, a decade ago, this might be a matchup you're not interested in, but nowadays, these are two schools who can compete. Liberty's -6.5, totals 51 and a hook. Of course, the Liberty Flames beat up on the Maine Black Bears last week. Terrible opponent. They didn't even throw for 200 yards against them. Of course, we're looking at a Jacksonville State team on the other side who actually put UCF through a bit of a dogfight. You know, I told you last week, and if you're a UCF fan, I don't mean to trash you guys. I really don't. But, you know, folks who love UCF, they have an overinflated sense of where the program is at. That's in my humble opinion. This is a school that thinks they can compete with other Florida schools, and they can't. They don't. Listen, the only folks who think UCF is great, an elite program, are UCF fans. And man, did the Knights struggle with Jacksonville State. They struggled with their opponents last week. The Gamecocks limited UCF to just 17 points. Trevor Woods led the defense in tackles. It feels like the Gamecocks can keep this one close. Hell, there's a chance they might even end up winning this one outright. But hey, we're going to take the points. I like Jacksonville State plus 6.5, under 51 and a hook. All right, San Jose State taking on Texas. A lot of eyes are going to be on this one just to see how Arch Manning and the Longhorns have bounced back here. That'll be a 12 o'clock Eastern start. Texas is minus 37, totals 52. And listen, as dismal as Texas was against the Buckeyes last week, listen, this is not going to be a popular take, but if you think about it, the Longhorns could very well have won that game. I know that sounds crazy because it seemed like they got dominated, but they really didn't. Listen, it's not a take that many people are making, but Texas got stuffed on that 4th and goal from the inch line. That was a terrible play call. Ohio State lined up offsides, and they had a drop 4th down pass in the end zone in the 4th quarter. A lot of folks will say that ball was out of reach. Hit the guy's hands. He's got to come down with it. And listen, as much as people shit on Arch Manning, was Ohio State's Julian Sayin that much more impressive than Arch? Sayin wasn't dynamic by any means. That said, enough ranting. Texas has some talent, should win themselves a good amount of ball games this year, but when it comes to this number, well, I've got concerns. Listen, I defended Texas there a little bit, but 37 points, that's a lot to lay after scoring just 7 points in your opener and looking pretty sloppy on offense. Of course, San Jose State on the other side, they do have some players on the defensive side of the ball. Secondary held their opponents to just 115 yards through the air last week. Pollard had 15 tackles. Franklin and Williams, 16 tackles between the both of them. And when it comes to the total, both teams saw unders in week one. This is a Texas team who are looking to make steps, looking to improve, looking to, I guess, further develop Arch. So I just don't see it being a 40-point blowout. Give me San Jose State plus 37, under 52. UConn, Syracuse, 12 o'clock East. Syracuse is minus 6.5, totals 59. Now, the Orange did a nice job moving the football in their opener against Tennessee. Defense wasn't really strong, but offensively, they weren't completely helpless. They were doing a lot of good things. Steve Angeli threw for nearly 300 yards. He spread the ball around to 8 different players. And running back Yassine Willis, he ran for 3 scores on the day. I think the Orange will have a little more success moving the football against the Huskies in this one. Both schools with overs in week one as well. I like Syracuse minus 6.5, over 59. All right, another matchup of interest. Virginia, NC State, 12 o'clock East. NC State's minus 3, totals 55. Now, it was Virginia who blasted Coastal Carolina last week, 48-7. Chandler Morris completed over 70% of his throws for 264. And his leading receiver, Cam Ross, had 7 grabs for 124 yards and a touchdown. Of course, on the defensive side, the Chanticleers could not get much on this Cavalier defense. Virginia forced a couple of turnovers, and Landon Danley led the defense in tackles. I like Virginia plus 3, under 55. Utah State, Texas A&M, 12:45 East. Texas A&M is minus 32, totals 54.5, and the Aggies did have a few hiccups on defense in that Texas-San Antonio game last week. The Aggies ended up allowing over 200 yards on the ground. Meanwhile, Utah State on the other side, well, They got the W in their opener against UTEP, covered the point spread in that matchup as well. I like Utah State plus 32 over 54.5. Bowling Green, Cincinnati, 3:30 Eastern start. Cincinnati is minus, is this on our big screen here? Did I pass it? There we go. Cincinnati's minus 21, total is 47. And Cincy definitely played tough against a very much improved Nebraska program. They actually held Dylan Raiola and the Cornhuskers to just 20 points. The Bearcats did cover the point spread in that game. Jake Golday had a dozen tackles and a sack. Gola Callard with double-digit tackles as well. And they're facing a Bowling Green squad who I think is going to take some money this week. I think there's a little bit of hype around this program with Eddie George at the helm. They did struggle a bit with FCS Lafayette in the opener, but eventually pulled away. But I'll tell you what, in that victory, the Falcons did not throw the ball well. Bowling Green threw for just 109 yards against Lafayette. And no real surprise, both schools saw unders in their openers respectively. I think BG is going to have a tough time moving the ball in this one. I like Cincinnati minus 21, under 47. All right, next game, Delaware taking on Colorado. That'll be a 3:30 Eastern kickoff. Colorado's minus 23, totals 50.5. And I do think the Buffs bounce back in this spot here. They weren't completely helpless against Georgia Tech. Matter of fact, they did a lot of nice things on defense. The Buffs limited the Yellow Jackets to just 143 yards through the air for several turnovers early in that game. I think it was, 3 turnovers within 7 minutes of that game starting. A couple of fumble recoveries and an interception. Reggie Hughes had 13 tackles for the Buffs, and it was Martavius French who had those pair of fumble recoveries early in the first quarter. Good bounce back spot for Colorado at home. Give me the Buffs minus 23, under 50.5. All right, Fresno State, Oregon State, 3:30 Eastern start. Oregon State's minus 3.5. Total is 47. And just trying to find that. There we go. Once again, Oregon State minus 3.5. Totals 47. And listen, the Beavs look pretty bad in their opener. It was a 19-point loss to Cal. Gave up 34 points in the loss on defense. The Beavs were actually allowing over 5.7 yards per play from scrimmage. And they're going to face a Fresno squad who's coming fresh off a 42-14 victory over Georgia Southern. They also had a tough test in week 0 against Kansas. So this is a team going into their third game. Got plenty of snaps under their belt. Bryson Donaldson's averaging 100 yards a game on the ground already through 2 contests. Bulldogs with 6 rushing touchdowns through a couple of games. Both programs with overs in their week 1 matchups. I like Fresno plus 3.5, over 47. All right, Kansas, Missouri, 3:30 Eastern kickoff. Missouri's minus 7, totals 51. And MIZZOU was rather untested with Central Arkansas in week 1. Of course, on the other side, I really like the way Kansas has played over the past few weeks. They've got a dynamic quarterback. You're talking about a guy who can explode. He's a tough guy to tackle. He's going to beat you with his legs. And, you know, if he just stands back there and tries to pass, you really can't get a hand on him. He's very elusive. I'm talking about Jalen Daniels, who's completing 80% of his throws, 7 touchdowns already, and averaging 5.9 yards a carry when he takes off. Of course, receiver Emmanuel Henderson. He's got 9 grabs for 154 yards and a couple of scores. Meanwhile, on the defensive side, the Jayhawks are allowing just 45 yards a game on the ground. They've been real tough against the run. Now, total-wise, both of the Jayhawks games this season fell under the number. I like Kansas plus 7, under 51. All right, next game, Miami, Ohio taking on Rutgers. That'll be a 3:30 Eastern start. Rutgers is minus 14, and the total is 46.5. Now, the Scarlet Knights moved the ball quite well against Ohio. This is a back-to-back MAC school they're facing here this week. They actually averaged 6.7 yards a play from scrimmage against the Bobcats. And Ethan Kalakmanis, he completed over 78% of his throws, 252 yards and a couple of scores. And wide receiver Ian Strong had 7 catches for 100 yards on the nose. And like I said, they're going to face another MAC competitor in Miami, Ohio. The Redhawks had a tough time slowing down the run game of Wisconsin last week. And man, I'll tell you, this defense was on the field an awful lot. This Red Hawk D was on the field for nearly 40 minutes in that opening week loss. I think the Scarlet Knights have some more success moving the football. I really like this quarterback, man, Kalakmanis. He's going to be exciting to watch. Give me Rutgers minus 14 over 46.5. All right, North Texas taking on Western Michigan. That'll be a 3:30 Eastern kickoff. North Texas is minus 10, total 60. And listen, the North Texas Mean Green, they were rather untested in week 1. They ended up blasting Lamar College. Of course, the Broncos on the other side of Western Michigan, they're coming off a tough matchup against Michigan State. They actually did some decent stuff on defense. They limited Sparty to just 155 yards through the air. Nadeem Tucker, he had a handful of tackles and a pair of sacks. And Tate Halleck led the Broncos in tackles, also had a pick 6. I think the Broncos can keep it within double digits at home here. Give me Western Michigan plus 10, under 60. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. I like Louisville minus 14, over 57.5. Maryland minus 18, under 48. We're 8-3 with a push in our last dozen college football tier membership plays on my premium page. SMU minus 2.5, over 65. Pitt Panthers minus 22, under 52. Florida International plus 42, over 54.5. I like the under 51 in that Illinois-Duke matchup. Under 42, Iowa State. Kennesaw State plus 36, under 51. Kent State Golden Flashes plus 48, over 58. Jacksonville State plus 6.5, under 51 and a hook. San Jose State plus 37, under 52. Syracuse minus 6.5, over 59. Virginia Cavaliers plus 3, under 55. Utah State Aggies plus 32, over 54.5. Cincinnati minus 21, under 47. Colorado Buffs minus 23, under 50.5. Fresno State plus 3.5, over 47. Kansas Jayhawks plus 7, under 51. Rutgers minus 14, over 46.5. Western Michigan plus 10, under 60. Oregon Ducks minus 28, over 57.5. Ole Miss minus 9.5, under 52. Texas State Bobcats plus 5, over 66.5. Troy State plus 34, under 52. UAB plus 22, under 61. Wisconsin minus 28, over 45. West Virginia minus 2.5, over 58.5. South Florida plus 17, over 54. Arkansas Razorbacks minus 23, over 63. Missouri State plus 10.5, over 57 and a hook. Army Black Knights plus 17, over 46. Rice plus 13, under 39.5. Memphis minus 13, over 54. North Carolina minus 14, under 48. A bounce back spot. Tulane minus 10, under 52. Western Kentucky plus 7, under 59. Nebraska minus 34.5, under 47 in the tight window. Mississippi State Bulldogs plus 7, under 59. Auburn minus 42, over 53.5. Michigan State Spartans minus 3, under 46. USC Trojans minus 28, over 62. Louisiana Tech plus 38, under 52. Give me the under 46.5 in that Michigan-Oklahoma matchup. Virginia Tech Hokies plus 1, under 48. UNLV plus 3, over 54.5. Tulsa minus 3, under 53. San Diego State plus 2, under 45. BYU minus 18 over 46.5, and give me Hawaii minus 7 over 49. With that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And if you do end up getting a membership here today on my premium site, just a friendly reminder, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. Going to be included with your membership. That's why I always tell folks, my Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. But most importantly, folks, gotta thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, folks, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.